All right, welcome everyone. Welcome back to those of you who were here yesterday, and welcome to those of you who are just joining today. We're talking today about still why you're not landing job offers and what did land 99 job offers in 2025. And more than that, now that since I started this training, people started coming out of the woodwork and letting me know that they had also landed their offers. So today we're going to be talking about the next steps. So yesterday, quick recap. I didn't have slides for this recap, but we talked about the number one thing that is the first step in a successful job hunt, in a successful career, and that is creating the opportunities and knowing how to create them, the mistakes that most people are making, why they're not able to create enough. But this is the next step, because once you create the opportunities, you do need to know how to see them through until the finish line, until the offer. So many people, and this is why I created the material I'm teaching today, is because my clients would get stuck at, say, those final rounds, or they get stuck somewhere along the process. So that's what we're talking about today. So if you're anything like me, you know that companies want to invest in people who can deliver a measurable result, especially now. It's like a lot harder to get hired because people are being so much more careful with how they're doing their hiring. So I'm going to show you how to position yourself as a high return investment, because where the value that you create is going to far exceed what they're going to pay you. That's the outcome we want to achieve. One of the outcomes we want to achieve. So this is one of the skills that separates people from just getting the interviews. You know, you can get the opportunity, and then what separates the people who actually get the offers. So as I said yesterday, I always need to mention this, that I need to be clear about one thing. What I taught you yesterday about the opportunity stacking and what I'm teaching you today has been shown to work. And I show you proof of this. I don't expect you to believe me. But so I show you lots of proof so that you can see what I'm saying is accurate. But I can show you what has worked for 99 other people, but whether it works for you depends on you. So you probably know that, but I got to put that as a disclaimer. So today I'm showing you how to position yourself so companies see you as a high return on investment, not a risk, because that is what people will be worried about. They'll be worried that you will be a risk. Just want to make sure I'm recording. Yeah, I am. Super paranoid about that. I did one where I didn't record. Okay, so we want to make sure that they see you as an investment, like a safe investment, not a risk, right? You can see how human behavior would work like that. They don't want to be taking an unnecessary risk. And hiring is always a risk, so we want to minimize that risk for them as much as we can. And this is what gets you hired faster and what makes people comfortable to raise your salary when you're negotiating. That is what I'm going to teach you is the VCVC method, which I'll introduce to you in a minute. So what kills 85% of job offers, even when you are the best candidate, like, and by that I mean you're qualified, you're capable, you can do the job, what makes you impossible to pass up, and how to apply this in your next interview. So as I said yesterday, I don't expect you to believe what I'm saying. So it's easy to say stuff, but I like to insert a lot of proof into these presentations because I think it will land a lot better. And I'll show you by showing that with other people's screenshots. Some people will be happy for me to share, and they come on the podcast and they're sharing. I'm interviewing 2 more people coming up, but sometimes I'm just sharing people that have sent me in the DMs their wins, and not everybody wants to be public about it, so I share what I can. So what is the VCVC method? Value creation, value communication. That is what it stands for. So here's what happens in most interviews. You explain what you did, you answer their questions, and you feel like it went well. You feel like that's the extent of your control over the situation. But the interviewer is thinking, they seem qualified, but so did the other 3 finalists. So you didn't necessarily do anything wrong, but you didn't give them a reason to choose you. So VCVC solves this. Instead of hoping they get your value, you position it clearly so that not hiring you actually feels irresponsible to them. So this is something I hear a lot too when people start using this method. They're like, well, I don't want to oversell myself. I hear this all the time. People are like, well, what if I accidentally promise too much and I can't deliver? Has anyone felt like that? Felt like, oh, I don't want to oversell myself? I hear this all the time from people, so I'm not surprised if you have had this thought. Put a yes in the chat if if you can relate to that. Because then, yeah, and then I have a lot of clients who have some fear of success. They'll think, oh, well, what if I do get the role? What if I talk myself up really well and then I can't do it, right? So here's what I want to, okay, lots of yeses. People are relating to this. So I created this method not to exaggerate your value, but I created it because it was a need because my clients weren't seeing their actual value. So I created it to help already talented, brilliant professionals communicate the value that they already have in a way that can be easily understood. And this is what is missing from their process, because that's that thought, that fear, what if I can't do it, or what if I overpromise, is actually causing you to undersell yourself. So most people actually undersell themselves because they think their work will speak for itself, right? And I've heard my clients say this too. Maybe you've said this. Maybe you're like, oh, my results should speak for themselves. My work should speak for itself. It won't. So I created the VCVC method because my clients were concerned about overselling themselves. So instead, they were actually downplaying the value that they were bringing. Can anyone see how they might be doing this? How you might be doing this? And so then when that happens, your brain starts thinking, oh, I need to apply for a lower level position. Your brain starts to go to that. I'd rather have certainty by doing less or getting less than I deserve or can do, because that will give me certainty versus believing that I am valuable enough to get what I actually want. Okay. So I needed a way to show them clearly their value so they couldn't even deny it. So that's how this process kind of came about, is because my clients weren't seeing their own value, and we're so close to our own value that we don't often see it, right? You have experienced that before, where you don't see something because you're around it every day. So quick story, I used to work in my dad's furniture store. My dad works with wood, and he's worked with wood since I was little. And he had me working in the store as as the shortest salesperson ever. Since I was 11 years old, I could talk, and I was in there. And people would come into the store and they would say, oh, it smells so good in here. And I never understood what they were talking about. I didn't understand. I'm like, what are they smelling? And I realized later they were smelling the pine, the wood that my dad used to build furniture, but I'd been around it my whole life, so I didn't even smell it. I couldn't appreciate that smell because I'd never had it. I maybe smelled it when I was younger and I forgot it. So this is the same with your value. Your brain just kind of checks out. It doesn't really understand. So this process kind of brings that back into view. And the reaction I get from my clients after they go through the process is, whoa, I've been really underpaid. Like they have like an aha moment. So it's worked because once they can see their value, then they can communicate that effectively, and then they can start getting offers that actually match the value that they bring. So I've seen this proven over and over again. But that's how it was created. It was created out of a need. So let me be clear with you. Your value does not speak for itself. You have to speak for it. Are we clear on that? Most people don't know how to do that. You haven't been taught how to do it. You don't know how to do it. That's not your fault. VC was designed to give you the language and the methodology to show what you deliver without feeling like you're overselling yourself. So it's not like you're making promises you can't keep. You're finally making the value you already create visible to other people. And that's 100% your responsibility to do. And if you can do that, then you can unblock yourself from the career opportunities and the career job offers that you want to get. So here's what actually is happening in most interviews. 41% of candidates cannot explain what they've accomplished. 54% can't articulate their strengths. And companies reject 42% of people specifically because of poor interviewing skills. So translation, you can be the most qualified person in the running, but if you can't communicate the value, you lose it every single time. So the person who does get the offer isn't necessarily the most qualified. So we learned that yesterday in the opportunity stacking. It's not about being the most qualified. It's about having the channels to be able to create the opportunities that you need. And it's the person who can make their value impossible to miss. That's what VCVC basically forces you to do. So it gives you the exact language method to position yourself so you can so clearly that hiring you feels irresponsible. So here are some of the sources I've cited from 2005 or 2025. So I try to get all the data to be recent. 2024 being the least recent, but all the data that I cited today and yesterday is from recent sources. So here I'll show you some examples. So some people might say, right now, oh, it's so difficult to switch fields. What if you're competing with all these other people who have all this other experience, right? Then you might get really down and you might start thinking, oh, this is not possible. How am I supposed to compete with all these people that have all this other experience, right? So this is what Justin was thinking when he first came to me. And he was transitioning into data analytics, data science, and he was somebody who didn't have that experience. He didn't have all the experience that other people competing for the same roles would have. And he used the VCVC method. He got a 15K raise, which put him at the six-figure mark. And he had the same qualifications, but he was in a new industry, different responsibilities, different communication, different pay. And what really got me when I interviewed him was he had the full confidence that he could do this again, right? So that's another big part of it with my clients. And when I do the work with them is like, it's not just a lucky thing. It's not like, oh, I just kept going and then something came through. It's like, no, I knew how to do it. And I feel confident that I could do it again if I needed to. And that's the indicator that the process has worked, right? It has actually shifted the way that you think. So here's another example. Taya was using opportunity stacking. She was doing really well with it. She was getting these opportunities, but they were not closing to offers. So she implemented the VCVC method. She gained a 50% salary increase. She didn't get more qualified. She didn't go upskill and get a bunch more certifications. She simply learned how to communicate her value better, and she got a 50% increase. Same thing happened with Rosio. She was trying to change industries from marketing in a brick and mortar location to marketing online. And so she was having trouble with transferring these skills and articulating how these skills were going to transfer over. So she's one of the participants from the VCVC masterclass, which I'll share with you about tomorrow. And she was able to do this. She expressed her win as I was able to get an opportunity and an offer that checked all my boxes, right? So we're always trying to check other people's boxes. She got something that checked her boxes. And with that came a 60% salary increase. So I want to share as much proof with you as I can. I also don't want to make it like an infomercial, but this is what it is. So I'll read these ones here. Katie, she said, this is what happens when you're in the process. So she's like, I had my second interview with the hiring manager last Friday, scheduled for 30 minutes, ended up for an hour and a half, the interview and the conversation. And I learned during the call that I'm moving forward to an on-site panel interview to meet with the team this Friday. This has never happened to me. Found out on the call I'm moving forward, let alone happens so quickly. Win, right? And then she asked the question about the interview. And now it actually has been a year since she landed this role, and she is up for a promotion. So I'm waiting to hear how that went, but she's up for her promotion now. Patrick, this just happened very recently. Happy to report starting a new role November 3rd. Natalie, your help by the program was a big catalyst for making this happen. Grateful for the support. I signed it, start Monday, terrified, excited both, but I can see using the frameworks. And if I can do it, you can share with anyone who needs to hear it that the VCVC method will work even when you're scared. Update, I gave my notice. 2 weeks from today, I'm out. Boss was shocked. I've been checking out mentally for months, already excited about what's next. Use the VCVC method framework to land something that actually values what I do. So there we have it. So what these clients had in common, the skills were already there. They didn't need to get anything else. They didn't need to add to their skills. They didn't need to change anything about them. What was missing was the ability to communicate the value in a way that makes companies see hiring you as an investment, not an expense. So that's what VCVC does. So why does it matter? So here's why it's important. So if you're off distracted doing something, come back to me now, because this is a really important part. You can get in the door, right? and then you can make it to the final rounds. But if you do that, you are already considered qualified. So the credentials might help you get into the room. But the VCVC method is required to get you the offer, because without it, you're hoping they see your value. Without, like, they can't, with it, they can't miss it. So when you're already at final rounds, and tell me if you've been getting final rounds already. Put in the chat, put final rounds if you're already there. Because that's something that happens a lot. And it's like, you're getting to the final round, but there's things that aren't happening there. Okay, great. Oh, great. Yeah. Lots of you are. So when you're at that point, you're already qualified. You're already qualified. You've already reached that threshold. So now it's like, what's the differentiator between the already qualified candidates? So can you see how communicating your value matters more than your credentials when you're in the final round? Because at that point, everyone is considered qualified. So the person who gets the offer is the one who makes the hiring decision easiest. So VCVC allows you to become the easy choice. And this is only part of it. So tomorrow I'm going to share with you the other part of it. And at the end of today, I'll share what that is. And then tomorrow we'll go into more detail about it, because there's more than just one part. So here's another thing that comes up all the time. So tell me if you relate to this. I don't want to sound like I'm bragging. Put a yes in the chat if you can relate to that. I hear this a lot. People really don't want to, they're concerned with sounding like they're bragging. So I want to clear something up for you right now. Okay, yes. Everybody's agreeing. So here's what happens. You might believe that when you're confident, you could come off as bragging. In this case, and if this is the case, your brain will just automatically want to downplay what you have to offer. This is a critical mistake. So here's the truth about bragging. And I think we have a misconception about what this means, because bragging sounds like this. It says, I'm better than everyone else. That's why you should hire me. And potentially we're taught to believe that, right? But here's the thing. When we believe that, we feel like we're doing, sometimes we can feel like we're doing a disservice, or we can feel like unworthy, or whatever's going on in there for you. And so then you don't want to do it. You don't want to feel like you're saying you're better than everyone else, but that's not actually what you're doing when you're communicating your value effectively. So that's the misconception, because communicating value effectively doesn't give off that vibe at all. It's not about being better than everyone else. It's focused on impact and outcomes. It's actually not about you at all. So one makes them tune out, the other makes them lean in. Do you see how that's the difference? Who just had a shift right now? So it's not about them at all. It's about impact and outcomes. Okay, great. Yes. Okay. So here's what I want you to know. People getting hired ahead of you are not more qualified than you are. They're not better at the job than you are. They know how to articulate their value more clearly. So VCVC gives you that framework, because when you do this, you're not hoping they believe you. You make their decision clear for them. So here's a few more messages I've received this year. Natalie, this program changed how I think, not just about job searching, about everything. The mindset shift stuff, the VCVC method, the storytelling work carries over into everything. I'm showing up differently in all your areas of life. Also, I got the job, but honestly, the mental shifts are the bigger win. So tomorrow I'll be telling you about the stories component. This is real, Natalie. I doubled my salary, not exaggerating, from 45K to 90K. Same skills, just finally know how to talk about them using the VCVC framework. Value creation and value communication equal results. They created a role for me, wasn't even posted, had a conversation, used the VCVC method to show them what value I could create. They made a position. That's what happens when you lead with value creation instead of trying to fit the description. So I can't tell you how many times I've actually heard that is When you lead with it, with what you want to bring to the table, you open up things that are possible. All right. So, candidates who communicate their value effectively boost their interview chances by 40%. 34% of hiring managers automatically reject candidates who can't clearly show their impact. Now, a lot of people will tell me, like, I do think I've been doing this, right? Like, they think that they'll be like, well, I have been showing my value, like, and for tomorrow's work, people will have comments that, oh, I am telling my stories really well. Things are going really well. And here's the thing, if the results aren't showing up, then you're not doing it right. So I'm here to tell you the truth. So one gets you ignored, the other gets you the offer. VCVC teaches you how to do the second one naturally and authentically. So let's recap. Yesterday, you learned about opportunity stacking and how to create the opportunities that really matter. And today you learned about the VCVC method, how to be taken seriously once you're there. So there's still things that are missing. So you can get in the room, you can communicate your value clearly, but when it comes down to the other 2 to 3 equally qualified finalists, logic doesn't 100% guarantee you the win. So it's a critical component, but it's not all that's required. So what is missing? It's going to be emotional resonance. So tomorrow I'm showing you how to create emotional resonance. So we can have logical and emotional, and we need both of those components to close an offer once we've got the opportunity, once we're in the door, okay? Which one do you think that you are missing, or put both in the chat? Put 1 or 2. Let me know which one you think you need to work on the most, or put both in the chat. Both. 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 Okay. Lots of you are saying both. So you're right to believe that, because both of them are necessary to land the offer. And who here believes they need to work on opportunities as well? My struggle is getting any sort of clear picture through a job description or a job board. These days, companies all say the same. I'm visual. I think I need to see what the job is. That has been a challenge to know what to communicate. Yes, really good observation there, Wyatt. Yes, yes, all three, all three. I'm not cracking interviews. Monica, have you watched yesterday's training? If you're not cracking interviews, yesterday was for you. Yeah, so the goal of this training is for you to understand why you're not cracking the interviews in the first place, which was yesterday. And then if you are, why you're not actually landing them, why you're not taking them all the way to the finish line. And diagnosing that exactly. So communicating your value essentially is a skill on its own. And then creating emotional resonance is a skill on its own. And those are the skills that we haven't been taught, that we haven't learned, right? People are busy learning, like they're going out to go get certifications, but not actually learning the skills that are actually going to get them the offer. So what I'm teaching you tomorrow is I'm showing you the way that stories actually create emotional resonance and impact. Stories that make interviewers remember you over the other 5 people that they interviewed that day, right? Stories that make hiring feel right, not just look logical on paper. Because if we look at it like humans operate, if you're going to marry someone, you're not going to marry them just because they look good on paper. It has to feel right, right? So I'm going to show you how to talk about that tomorrow. Last year, I landed many interviews. Yes, so that's what I'm experiencing too, Monica. And that's why I had to create the opportunity stacking and the cocktail party formula that I talked about yesterday, is that we had to switch our approach. So last year, different things were working than are working this year. So that's why the whole thing had to get overhauled. We had to find new ways to create those opportunities. So tomorrow is the final training. I'm putting our four mechanisms together. So at the end, I'm going to make you an offer to work with me to put these into play directly with me. So to turn these skills into actual job offers. So this isn't for people who want to wait for 6 months again, or for people who aren't ready to start really getting into it now. And if you've been searching for a long time, or if you're wondering what you're doing wrong, if you're getting interviews but no offers, if you're ready to follow a system that's helped the 99 people this year, then I'm going to show you that tomorrow. Thanks a lot for sharing, for being so kind with the recording. Yeah, absolutely. My pleasure. So tomorrow, final training. Last two required mechanisms to land the offer. How they're all going to work together. And then my offer to help you implement the skills, and then bonuses for those who are ready to move fast. So that's it for today. I'll take any questions you have. I want to hear where you're feeling stuck, where your thoughts are, what your feelings are right now, and what you're feeling, what I can help you with right now. So please go ahead and put in the chat. Yep. Yeah, so I'm going to talk about what we need to find out the information that we need. That's actually mechanism number 4, is to find out what we need to be able to communicate, because there's information that you need from the job that you're not going to see on the job description. Can you gradually measure if you're getting better at the skill of communicating value? Yes. Which are your tips for landing professional opportunities? So, did you watch yesterday's call? Yesterday's call was all about opportunity creation. And if you're doing any of the mistakes that we talked about on yesterday's call, then that will be your first tip, your first advice. Great. Okay, what else? What questions? If you were to say that you're stuck right now, how would you describe that? Oh, I can see your comment, Catherine. She says apparently only panelists can see my comment, not the host. No, I can see it. Yes, the link for yesterday's talk is available. So if you're on the email list, you'll be able to get the email for that. Are you able to help me land a job in the research field? Yes, absolutely. My client who's going to be coming on the podcast soon, she was in conservation research. That's an example of something that we think is communicating value but isn't. What's an example of something that we think is communicating value but isn't? So like very vague general things. That's a good question. And the way that you'll know whether or not you're doing it accurately, I'll show you tomorrow. I've got planned for the 4th mechanism is going to show you tomorrow how you can gather that information. Yes, healthcare was one of the industries that my clients are in. So yesterday I went through all the industries that my clients have been in this year to land these job offers. And I listed them all in the beginning of yesterday's presentation, so you could see if yours is there. But at the beginning, I didn't have any of these. Like I didn't have the testimonials from all the different industries. So I had to get really good at applying this to work with different industries. But what I've realized is that it is about humans. Like if you have to talk to another human, if you have to interact with another human to get the job you want, then this is going to work for you if you implement, if you apply. Yeah. I'm stuck finding what companies or jobs actually fit me. Yes, getting a lot of like, this is the equivalent of getting the feedback of, you were great, we loved you, but we went with somebody else. Yeah. Great questions, everyone. Great comments. Amazing. Okay. Anything else? Come back tomorrow. Who's excited for tomorrow? Yay. Awesome. Okay, come back tomorrow. I have a client call right after this, so I'll be ending the call, but I will see you all tomorrow. Thank you so much for being here. And we'll wrap it up. All right, bye-bye.